So this video is going to look at quite a technical, arcane piece of functionality in AdapTable or AG Grid extension, but it's one that a few users have asked about in recent weeks, so we decided to make it into a video. And essentially, it's what does AdapTable do in terms of supporting row groups in AG Grid, whether they open, expanded, collapsed, whether you can sort of create rules for how you want to see each set of row groups. Because in fact, AdapTable has quite a sophisticated set of functionality here, which you can define in your layouts. So essentially, there's four main options. You can say you want all row groups always to be expanded, so no matter what happens, whenever you reopen the layout, every row group's open. Or you can do the opposite. You can set every row group to be closed. Or you can say, well, I'll have them expanded by default, but these are the exceptions I want. These ones closed. Or the other way around, closed by default, but you list the exceptions. So we'll show you what that means. So here we have two layouts, one called always expanded, one called always collapsed. So in the always expanded layout, we've set it so that every row group is open. So in fact, if I now close some, and if I go into my next layout, which is called always collapsed, here we can see they're always collapsed. And now if I open some, we can see that when I go back into always expanded, everything has been overwritten, they just expand, and ditto, always closed, they close. You can list exceptions, and you can actually configure the exceptions in your predefined config, in your initial state, if you want to. So in this example here, we've said we want everything to be collapsed except for JavaScript, which is how it works here. If I scroll in the grid, so JavaScript and HTML we've said, and then that will be the case, and obviously it will be saved. So when I change things, if I come out and if I come in, this time the changes are made, it's saved. And then we offer it again if you've got many row groups. So in this example here, we've got more than one group being grouped, more than one column being grouped. Again, it gets saved. Or if you've got what we call display type multi, where each row group is in its own column, again, you can save it. The other thing you can do is you can do it for pivot layouts. So, and it's exactly the same functionality. So in this example here, we've got one called pivot layout exceptions, and we've got one called pivot layout consistent. So in the consistent, we've said they're always expanded. So if I close everything, they will open next time. But if I go to exceptions, so this time I will have everything closed except HTML. Now, when I go back to consistent, you'll see everything has reopened. But when I go to exceptions, you'll see that we've saved the HTML exception. And in fact, the same thing happens with column groups. Column groups are what's sometimes known as banded columns, where you have multiple columns all in the same group. And it's exactly the same logic. You can have your column groups be always expanded, always collapsed, expanded, collapsed. So in this example here, we've got these column groups and we've said they're always expanded. In this example, we've said they're always collapsed. And then we've got one layout where you have generally collapsed, but with some exceptions, and ditto, some which are expanded and exceptions. And again, that's also available for pivots. So in this pivot, we've got a couple of column groups, and we've said this column group is always expanded. This column group, you can see they're always collapsed. And then we've got exceptions for expanded and exceptions for collapsed. So essentially, in AdapTable, you can define how you want your pivot column, your column groups, both for table and pivot, and your row groups, both for table and pivot, and what you want the default behavior to be, whether you want to save exceptions, so that when you reload AdapTable, you see what you had last time. So as I say, fairly arcane point, but for some users, it's a very nice to have feature. If you'd like to learn more about layouts in AdapTable, pivoting, row grouping, column grouping, or anything else, the many functions we offer, please get in touch. We'll be delighted to hear from you, give you a personalized demo, or offer you a free no obligation trial license so you can try out AdapTable for yourself. Thank you for watching.